In Project 3, we're going to take a look at how we can create and apply styles to our workbook. And not only will we do that, we'll create them and apply them, but then we'll also learn how to modify them and copy them to other workbooks to be used as well. And styles are simply a name given to formatting attributes such as your fonts, font size, alignment, borders, shading, and so forth. And we've used formats in the past. We've bolded, we've changed font sizes, all kinds of things to our cells. However, cell styles, if you find that you're using those same combinations of formats quite often, you can create styles, and then they're based on those formats. So if I knew that I always used the bold style, font size of 14 point, Arial font, and I underlined. If I wanted those 4 formats to be saved and continually used over and over again, I could use a cell style. And I just create the name of the cell style, and then every time I apply that cell style, it will pull up those 4 different formats. So Excel has current styles, built-in styles. If you go to the Home tab in the Styles group, you're going to see some in the gallery. I'm going to click on the More button, which I don't think you're going to be able to see, but that expands out the gallery. These are all styles that Excel already has created based on, a lot of that's based on your themes, but they do have existing styles that you can use. You can also create your own, and we're going to do both in Project 3. Before we do that, though, they want us to review some of the formulas that we've used in previous projects, and so we're going to do that. I'm going to kind of fly through these, but it'll be a good review to kind of just watch, and hopefully you already know how to do this and you can look at it quickly. But for the gross amount, we're simply going to take hourly rate times hours, and then we'll autofill that down. The withholding tax, we're going to take the gross amount times the withholding rate, and as we autofill that down, we don't want row 11 changing. So I'm going to put a $sign in front of that and autofill down. Social Security tax, same thing. I'm going to start out with the gross amount, multiply that times the rate. Again, we don't want row 12 to change as we copy, so I'm placing a $sign in front of it. And then the net will be the gross minus your withholding tax minus the Social Security tax. And I'll autofill that down. And then these 3 cells need to be consistent with the hourly rate. Sorry, those 4 cells need to be consistent with the hourly rate. So we're going to apply the accounting style to that. And I think the rest of them are okay. In Sheet 2, we want the amount due, which we've seen a similar formula to this, but we're going to take the amount times the tax and then add back the amount. So I'm going to start out with an equal sign, the amount times the tax rate, and then we'll add it back to the amount. Press OK, autofill down. This first line probably needs to be an accounting style to keep consistent with the others. Okay, and then the last sheet, the due date. If you'll recall, if you want to use the date in any kind of formula, you have to use the date function. So they have in all of these, and we're just going to simply add the date to the terms, the number of days that they have allowed in order to pay for their sales or whatever they purchased. So the formula is going to start out with an equal sign, purchase date plus the days, and then I'll autofill that down. So all that should be a review, but it's a good review that we can go through. Now I'm going to go back to Sheet 1, and we're going to use some of the built-in styles that Excel has created for us. We're going to apply them to 2 cells at the bottom of Sheet 1, the withholding rate and the Social Security rate. And the existing styles, as I showed you earlier, are in the Styles group, and you probably have to go to the More gallery. And that'll list out all of your existing pre-existing styles that Excel has to offer. The one that we're looking for this example is in the Data and Model group, and we're looking for Check Cell. So, and any of these that you lay your mouse on, as I mentioned previously, will kind of show you what it looks like before you actually click on it and accept it, which is a huge advantage. This is called the live preview, just like they have in other galleries that we have. It shows you what it's going to look like before you actually select it and save you a lot of time. But what we want for this one is check style. And as you can see, that particular style has gray shading, white font, it has borders around it, whatever else. I don't know what else is involved with that, but there are a lot of different formats that are housed underneath that particular style. So it can save you lots of time, so you don't have to go through and manually pick and choose those particular formats. And then to the actual rates, I'm going to select both of those. They want us to choose another style. Again, I'm going to the More gallery. This time again, still in the data and model area, they want us to choose output. So again, variety of formats that have been applied to those cells. Okay. Next, we're going to take a look at creating, or they call it defining, a cell style. You can do that two different ways. You can either create a style from scratch based on a cell that already has the formats that you like, which if you look at the title here, that has some things that I'm not going to be able to probably identify everywhere, but if you look even on the ribbon, you can tell the bolding has been applied, center alignment, merge and center, bottom align. We can see also that it's dark green font, green fill color, a lot of different formats that are housed in that cell. And if you're going to use that over and over again, it might be appropriate to create a style for that. So we can create it from an existing cell, or if you don't have any of the formats created but you know you want to use them later on, you can just go to a blank cell and create one from scratch, and then you can apply it to whatever cells that you want. Okay. Cell styles too are only found in the current workbook. So like if I were to open up another workbook, the style that I created in this workbook would not be found in a new workbook or in another workbook that's already been created. We can, however, take the styles that you've created in this workbook and we can copy them to another one. But by default, the styles that you create are only unique to this workbook. The first style that we are going to create, or define as they refer to it as, is the title here. We're going to generate a cell style based on the formats in that cell. So when you do that, obviously you need to click in the cell that has the formats that you like, and then in the styles group we're going to go to the More gallery, and at the bottom of that, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but there should be a new cell style option, and that will get you into the style dialog box. And at that point all we need to do is name the style. They actually want it called chapter 6 style, and that's really all you have to do. You can click OK. And if you go back to your styles group in the More gallery, you should see the style we just created under the custom area. Okay. Alright, now even though we've created that style, A1 does not have that style applied to it yet. We've generated it from that cell, but we haven't actually applied it. Now, the book says that we need to go through and apply that to cell A1. You'll see that. Let's see. In bottom of page 216, item number 2, it says even though A1 is already formatted, the style has not been applied to it. Later you will modify the style, and the style must be applied to the cell for the change to affect it. Now, I am not going to apply that style like the book asks us to, just for demonstration purposes, because I want you to see that if a cell doesn't have the style applied to it, that it won't modify it automatically. So I'll make that point in just a minute. Now we're going to go to sheet 2, and for the title in sheet 2, which is in cell A1, we are going to apply the chapter 6 style that we just created. So I'm going to go to the styles group. You should see it in your gallery. I'm just going to click on it. So now we have those same formats applied to cell A1. Sheet 3, same thing. We're going to apply the chapter 6 style to it. Okay. Now, in project 3C, we're going to define a new style, but it's not going to be based on any formats that we have in the worksheet. So, because there's none that we just want to create one from scratch. So, you need to click in a blank cell, and then we'll go again to the styles group, back into the More gallery, and then we're going to go to the new cell style button again, or the new cell style option. That'll bring up your style dialog box. This time the title is going to be chapter 6 style, chapter 6 subtitle. Now we're going to go in and format this again from scratch. We're going to go to the format button. You've got all these different ways of formatting. We're going to choose a couple here from the font tab first, and we're going to use Candara. Go down to the C's. That's the font we want, and we want it to be bold, 12 point. The font color we want to be white, and you'll see why here in just a second. And then the fill color, the background color, we want it to be green, and it's going to be at the bottom of this green column, the very last one. Okay. Then we're going to go to the alignment tab. We want it horizontally aligned, centered, and that's it. Okay, we'll go ahead and click OK. Click OK to that. Now nothing has changed in that cell, but if you go back to your Styles dialog box, the Styles gallery, you should see the new style that we just created. And notice there, I put it 6-0, which is the wrong thing, but we'll come back and change that in just a minute. I guess that's the right one. Thought maybe I put that in wrong, but that's what they show as well. So we'll leave that as is. Sorry. Okay, now we're going to apply that subtitle style to, go over to sheet 2. We're going to go to cell A2 and apply the subtitle. Same thing with sheet 3. We'll apply the subtitle style to that as well. And then go back to sheet 1. And back in sheet 1 we want to use the subtitle as well and apply that style here. So every sheet should have in cell A2 the subtitle style applied to it. Alright, then we're going to add some pre-designed cell styles or existing cell styles that Excel has to some other cells. So in cells A3 through G3, which are the titles here, we're going to go back to the Styles gallery, and in that we're going to choose the heading 3 style. And then we're going to skip a row, A5 through G5. We're again going to go back to the Styles group, the More gallery. This time we're going to choose the 20% accent 3, which is just a light green. We're going to do that for both row 7 and row 9. So I'm going to select both of those at the same time. I'm holding down the control key to grab both of those ranges of cells that are non-adjacent to each other. Then we'll go back to the Styles group, choose the 20%. So we're getting kind of an every other type situation there. And same thing for sheets 2 and 3. We're going to go every other one and apply the heading 3 style. So let's start out in sheet 2. They want us to start out, A3, we'll put in the heading 3 style too, just to be consistent here. And then 5, 7, 9, all the odds are going to have the 20% applied to them. And again, I'm just selecting all these, holding down the control key on all of them. Back to the style gallery, 20% accent 3. Sheet 3, same thing. Row 3 that has the headings in there, we're going to apply heading 3 style. And then every other one, the odd rows, we're going to put in the 20% accent 3. Okay? Now, the beauty of styles, if you've applied styles to your worksheet within a workbook, is that if you later decide to make changes to any of the color schemes or anything like that, wherever you've applied the style, it'll automatically update with those changes, which makes it nice. You don't have to go to each occurrence and make changes to it. So we're going to modify both the Chapter 6 title style and also the Chapter 6 subtitle style in the next exercise, actually Project 3D. So the first one is the title style. Probably the best thing to do is just be in a blank cell when you do this, and then go up to your styles group, find your style that you want to modify. In this case it's Chapter 6 title style, and if I right click on it, choose modify, first of all, I could change the name of it to title, because I didn't have that correct to begin with. And then to change the format, we'll go in, they want the font to be changed to Candara. And then in the alignment tab, they want the vertical alignment to be switched to center. And then something else you'll notice pretty obviously is the fill color was green to begin with, but they want that changed to turquoise. So, and the turquoise actually is on the palette, the second one down. Okay, and I'll go ahead and click OK to this, and go ahead and click OK as well. Now, since I didn't apply the cell style for the chapter title in sheet 1, you won't see the change here. However, we applied it to sheets 2 and 3, and notice how wherever I've applied that style, it automatically updated to reflect my changes. So that's why they told us back in project 3B at the bottom of page 216 to go ahead and apply the style. And then that way, when we made these changes, it would update it. So now we can go back to the styles and group and choose chapter 6 title and apply it. But that doesn't help us if you know you hadn't applied it to that cell. It won't automatically update unless you've applied the style to that cell. Okay, next we're going to modify the subtitle style. So again, I'm just going to go to a blank cell, go back to the styles group. I'm going to right click on the subtitle, go to modify. Again, we're going to go into the format cells dialog box, and there we're going to change the font to Calibri, and the fill tab we want to change it to dark turquoise, which again, turquoise is second to the bottom, and I think that's all they need to do to that. So click OK from there and OK here, and immediately you can see the changes should be applied to every sheet tab, every sheet that we applied the subtitle style to. And then finally, they're going to show us how we can make a change or modify pre-existing or predefined cell styles that Excel has. And this one, again, we're going to look at the 20% accent 3 colors that we've applied to the odd rows in each one of the sheets. So we're going to change that from a light green to a light turquoise. So again, I'm going to click any cell, but probably a blank cell is best. And we'll go back to the styles group, into the more gallery, and where you see the 20% accent 3, I'm going to right click on that. Now honestly, you could probably go to select all the cells and choose 20% accent 5 and you'd be fine. But since we've applied this style to all those ranges of cells, when we modify the style to a specific color, it'll automatically update every occurrence where we've applied that style. So pretty cool. So I'm again going to go through the same steps that we did to modify the previous 2 styles. I'm going to right click on that style, choose modify. We'll go back into the format tab, and we're going to change it to a light turquoise color. Click OK here, and now every place on the odd rows is changed it to blue rather than the green. Ooh, sorry about that. So very cool tool to have using the style feature. You have a lot of control over how the formats are applied to your cells. Now, as I mentioned previously, when you create styles or define styles in a workbook, those are not going to be found in a new workbook. Like if I open up a new workbook, go to styles, I don't see any of those custom styles in a new workbook or in a previous workbook that you've created. They're going to have us open up OE plans. Notice again, if I go to the styles group, subtitle and title styles are not in this particular gallery. So, as I mentioned, styles are only in the workbook in which you've created them. In the next little section of Project 3, we're going to learn then how to copy styles from our existing workbook to another workbook. Also, we're going to look at how you can remove a style that you've already applied to a cell, and then we're finally going to take a look at deleting a style. So I've opened up, and this is in Project 3E, I've already opened the OE Plans workbook, and so they have you saving it. Again, I guess I should do that. Let me go back to the OE Plans, save it, it's E level 1, Chapter 6, Project 3. Okay, so now we have it changed to reflect the new file name. Now we're going to copy the styles from payroll into this OE plans workbook. So to do that, you go to the workbook that does not have the styles currently in them. Notice we don't have the styles in there. To pull in those styles, you do need that other workbook open. Okay, the workbook that has the styles that you like has to be open in memory in order for you to be able to copy these styles. And they actually call it merging styles. You're merging styles between workbooks. So to do that, you can go to your styles group, go to your more gallery, and at the very bottom of that, and again, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, the last option in the gallery is merge styles. And then it'll list out all the workbooks that you have open other than the one that you're currently in, and it asks you where do you want to merge your styles from. And we want it from that OE payroll workbook, so I'm going to click on that. Click OK, and it'll say merge styles that have the same names. Yes. Okay, now we're still in OE plans. If we go to the styles group, into the more gallery, notice the options in the custom group are there, and now you can use them just like you were in the other workbook. Once you have the styles in the workbook, then you can apply them to this workbook, and we are indeed going to do that in Project 3E. We'll click on the title in this workbook and apply the Chapter 6 title to it. Notice how it merged and centered, kept all those formats. Subtitle, same thing. I'm going to go up to the styles and choose this Chapter 6 subtitle style. Okay, and the remaining part of Project 3E, they do have you filling in the monthly payments, total payments, and total interest. So if you need to review that, go back to the chapter with the monthly payment function in it. Make sure that you can still apply those functions, remember those functions, and apply it to this exercise.